This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you by Faulkner University. Choosing where to go to college is a big decision, and Faulkner University is the right choice for many reasons. First and foremost, they're committed to biblical teaching. Each of their 85 outstanding academic programs infuse Christian principles into the curriculum and prepare students for professional success in their career and meaningful service in their community. Their main campus in Montgomery, Alabama offers an abundance of opportunities for internships, networking, and entertainment. Over 96% of their students receive financial aid, making Faulkner education a great value. Faulkner is a Christian university dedicated to helping you grow strong in your faith, and their family-like atmosphere will make you feel right at home. Check out faulkner.edu today.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis, brought to you this week by Lads to Leaders Convention. It's coming up April the 15th through the 17th, which is Easter weekend, and we are thankful to have them on as a sponsor to the podcast. Travis, how you been this weekend?
Man, it's been a great weekend.
It has.
I've been filming some CYC videos. Always great to have our friends from Ohio. Bryson, Lee, and Millicent came down, helped us out with that, filmed, or maybe we helped him out with it. I don't know how that works. And, of course, Blake and Will and a bunch of the youth group here at Highland Park pitching in and getting it done. My mom made it in a video, so she's fired up.
It's kind of been a long day because we filmed until late last night, got some Waffle House. I think ate at Waffle House at about 11 o'clock last night. So late night last night. Today we filmed literally all day, and we are recording. And so you're going to get this on Tuesday right after we have recorded all weekend. But man, I think we've got some good stuff for CYC.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I think it turns out well every year. It always looks better, of course. Bryce's movie magic makes us look good. And so when things look good, things come across better, and they just can't help but be better.
So they're better for sure because of Bryce. So we're so thankful for Bryce. We could say, our whole Ben and Travis is brought to you by Bryce.
Yeah. I don't know if he wants to take credit for that or not. But
he probably doesn't. That might, hurt his reputation. But we are thankful for him, and we're thankful for you guys, and we're thankful that you have stuck with us. And was it this past week we hit 1,000?
On Facebook,
on our Facebook group.
You join the Facebook group, you can see my happy dance.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
That's what the people wanted. That's why we gave them happy
That's
dance.
what they voted for. But yeah, that was huge. So thank you guys for jumping in and doing that. And we are just really looking forward to CYC. It's coming up.
Do a little bit of preview of happy dance for people watching the video.
I think Blake got a couple of more happy dance memes or GIFs or GIFs or whatever you call them as we were videoing. So we wanted to come on here since Lads to Leaders is our newest sponsor at this point. We are going to do the Lads to Leaders question of the day.
Yeah.
And we're going to kick off with the question. And since it is Lads to Leaders, I thought it was very appropriate for the very first question and the very first topic that we talk about to just simply be about leadership. And who better to ask about leadership than the man who has about as many rings as Nick Saban does, not in college football, but in some high school football. And Travis has done a lot through the years with coaching. Coached at
Douglas High School,
and then has been at Riverside now for a long time.
Been at Riverside. I was a cheerleader for 4 years in high school.
There you go.
I was on the team. I had a jersey, but I spent most of my time cheering. But been a fan. Loved football for a long time. We talked about it at length. So
the question, the Lads to Leaders question that I was kind of getting to with all of that introduction is, Travis, what do you see as some of the most important characteristics of leadership and what you've seen through the years in coaching?
Well, this may not come to a shock if you're well versed with your Bible, but maybe how the world works, and I think the world gets it backwards. And it's really servanthood. It's the person who's willing to do the things that nobody else is willing to do, and puts the team first. Because you have people who, I'm willing to do things that nobody else is willing to do in promotion of myself.
Right.
Most of us, that can be somewhat motivating. I don't think it's a lasting motivation. Love There's a lasting motivation, and therefore, if you love somebody, you want to serve them. It's mind-blowing how many times I've been to these coaching clinics. Nick Saban himself standing up and talking about love and how important it is to the team. Love, love, love. And, I don't think I would ever call any of my head coaches talking about love by using the word love, but boy, it was a characteristic of everything. The servanthood. It's the glue people. You want your superstars. You need those guys who are really good, but you also need those glue people who may not be the most talented, but you know consistently what you're going to get from them. Day in, day out. They're the first guy in, first guy out. But we as human beings, we kind of do the Saul trick. I call it the Saul trick from the Old Testament, right? He's a foot taller than everyone else. He looks good in the role, but is he consistent? And I think there's where that issue comes in. There's a couple times he does, well, I thought it might be better this way. So, I think the service role, even in the church, right? We think about the preachers and the guys on the podcast maybe are, the ones who are out front in that leadership role. And that is a leadership role. But Jesus comes and he says it's not really those guys per se. It's the ones who are servants.
Yeah, I mean, think about, and I know a lot of you guys go to CYC and you see Lonnie and you see the SWAT team and you see us up on stage. And we're glad to be able to do that stuff. And it's a fantastic weekend for us. But, I mean, the people who are really working behind the scenes are the ones who are working the most. The people who are taking care of registration, the people who are taking care of, the T-shirts and the setting up things and the breaking down things and all of that, they're putting a lot of time and effort into it. And a lot of times we look at it and see, oh, it's the superstars, the ones up on stage, it's the whatever. And that's
there is no stage. We're not showing up on Thursday and Friday of CYC and setting up those monstrous screens and the stage and the sound and all that stuff that makes us look like $1 million. And if you're watching the video, you know how much effort that takes.
Yeah.
But then there's also the individual aspect of, serving people. Jesus washing the feet of disciples. Here is the creator of the universe that saw everything, spoke everything into existence, and yet here he is on his hands and knees before his darkest hour, thinking of someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that's where my biggest issue is I have to be intentional about thinking about the other person. And over time, it gets a little easier.
Yeah.
But man, if I'm talking to any young people out there, start now. If I'm talking to any older people, start now doing that.
Well, and you go back to the biblical examples, and especially the biblical example of Jesus. The world says, here's a leader. Alexander the Great was conquering kingdoms and doing all these sorts of things, and that was kind of the imagery that people had of a leader. That's the imagery that they had of a Messiah that was going to come and was going to change the world, was going to do all these things, and then he came and put a towel around his waist in John 13, and he washed his disciples' feet. He took kids up into his arms and spent time with them. He healed people. He ended up in places where nobody thought that this king or this leader or this Messiah, this prophet would go. But he changed the face of what leadership really was about, and it was almost like the complete opposite of what you think a leader would be. A leader, when we think about it, is he's supposed to let somebody wash his feet. And Peter had it that way. He's like, no, I can't do that. I can't let you do this. But Jesus said, look, you have to understand this is the way leadership is now.
I think about Jesus' last words there, John, to his disciples. Maybe not his last words, but he's talking about, I'm trying to comfort them. And he wants them to understand that really in the long run, his death is going to bring about more peace. And I think about Alexander the Great. He dies without naming a successor, and all these, it's chaos they're trying to figure out. And what does Jesus do by his death? He brings unity. And, the one unifying message for most was, at the very least, this was a good man. And so that brings me once again to church leadership or any leadership. When I talk to my seniors on the football team, do you want these guys that are underneath you sad to see you graduate? Or do you want them to go, man, I cannot wait for that guy to get out of here so that we can move on and kind of do things the right way? Same thing with church leadership, elders, deacons, preachers, whoever. Do you want people to be just absolutely sad that you're gone and want to honor you when you're gone? Or are they kind of counting down, not that I think anybody's doing this, but are they kind of like, man, I can't wait till so-and-so's out here so we can really do such and such,
Yeah.
can really serve people or seize the opportunity. And so it's legacy building is also leadership. Like, how am I going to be remembered when this is all over? And, being a leader, sometimes it's saying things to people they don't want to hear, but also coming across that there's a reason I'm saying this. I'm not trying to just be mean. We're trying to progress here.
Yeah. Well, and we're talking about this because of Lads to Leaders, and Jack Zorn created, started Lads to Leaders years ago. And, I've been through Lads to Leaders. I know a lot of people who've done Lads to Leaders. I've worked with it as an adult as well from time to time. And so a great program. And sometimes we do get focused on, like anybody does, when there's competitions and there's trophies and there's awards and there's different things. But the reason that program was even begun was just to help people learn how to lead and learn how to serve and learn how to do things within the congregations. And Jack was one of the best people in the world about making you feel important. Like, and we all look at, the red coat, Jack Zorn, look at all the great things that he's done. And his whole purpose was to make everybody around him feel important and feel special. And that's what he did for many, many years with Lads to Leaders. And, of course, saddened by his loss this last year. But certainly, just a great legacy of leadership that he leaves.
How you treat people on the way up, wherever up is.
Yeah.
You usually see those people on the way back down, too. And, what you just mentioned reminds me once again of a sports analogy, but being as small a school as we were playing football, we had to be well conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to find out what would happen to you when you were tired. It's great when kickoff happens, but what happens when we're 4 quarters in? Are you still a leader? Are you still doing the things? And so we conditioned a lot at Riverside, and we had middle and high school practicing together. They weren't all hitting each other, but they were all together because we just didn't have enough staff. And so we start running those gassers, and you got one of the young guys, and he's not moving as fast, and he's dead dog tired, and he's the last one. And to see those other guys run that last sprint with him or go out and meet him and cheer him on, you got this, you can do it, you can do it. It's different coming from a coach instead of a teammate. And not like, hey, hurry up and get this, we got to get going, we got other things we can do. But, hey, we're here for you, we're cheering for you, we're going to cheer you, we're going to will you across the finish line. And I don't know if I can describe Jesus any better or the Spirit of God. In some ways, he's willing us across the finish line because like the 99 and the 1.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things that I like to remind ministers of, young ministers of, or just leaders in general about is that kind of the idea of a lot of times we really worry about how great of a presenter we are, the kind of things that we've already talked about, the upfront stuff. But what I've learned through the years, and you guys have probably noticed this in your own life, in your work, the different things that you do out in public, whatever it is that your job is that people will really put up with a lot more from you if they know how much you love them. And that comes across through your character, through the way that you treat people, through the integrity of your work. And so that's not to say don't put some effort into the things that you do, but put a lot of effort into the way that you love people and you treat people. Titus 3:14, we've mentioned before, our people must learn to engage in good deeds and meet pressing needs so that they will not be unfruitful. That idea of meeting the needs of the people around us makes such a huge impact, and there's a lot more grace that is usually given to us when we have shown love to people.
Maybe I won't get in too much trouble here. I'm not trying to add to the scriptures, but I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that verse. Love and affection covers a multitude of sins and also minor discretions. If you're not the best speaker or orator and you love people, Ben's exactly right. People don't really pay attention to those things as closely because they know and they feel special and they feel, like you were saying, like important. And that's what we want. Whatever's going to nudge us across that finish line and closer to God, that's what we're shooting for. And yes, preaching the word is a huge part of that. But if you're preaching the word and not living it, and people think you're just there to do one thing and you're robotic, that doesn't really cover all the bases.
And I think there's a challenge here both to be that leader. I think we want to challenge you guys, everybody out there, to be that leader of integrity and of character, but also, take note of the kind of people that you surround yourself with. I want to be surrounded with people who challenge me to be better, people who challenge me to keep moving upward. And we've mentioned on many occasions how this podcast has helped us. It's helped me because it challenges me each week to think on things that not only we can challenge each other with, but that we can challenge you guys with, and that, Will and Blake and the people who come on here with us, that each time we do that, there's a challenge involved in it. So make sure that you surround yourself with people who are challenging you to run, to get up that mountain, or challenging you, like you were talking about, to finish those gassers, those, running in football or basketball or whatever it may be. But in life, attach yourself to the people that are selfless, who are going to help you and push you and encourage you, because we need those to get through life.
Think about the apprentices in the Bible. It seems like
Elijah,
there's always that guy
Elisha,
that's handing it off. Moses, Joshua, and you would be like, if I was Joshua, I can't do what Moses did. And what did Moses tell God? I can't do what you want me to do. Yeah. There's that mentorship that, hey, I've been there, and let me bring you in, let me educate you and bring you a mentor and share wisdom that you don't have to go through all the heartache that I went through. Let me give you some pointers. Paul, Timothy, Titus. All these guys he lists at the beginning of every letter, or at the end of every letter, of, I wouldn't make it without these guys.
And that was a big thing in that day, not just with Jesus. A lot of people had their disciples, Plato and Socrates, and all those different guys had disciples that learned under them. And I don't know that we use that kind of language that much anymore, but take people under your wing and help encourage them, or find someone we use the word mentor probably more today than anything else, but find those people who mentor you, and then turn around and mentor other people and encourage them to live the kind of life that God has challenged us to.
Absolutely.
Family devotional time. Fulfilling, organized, fun. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. Moses' words in Deuteronomy 6:4-8 to the children of Israel in the speech that closed out not only his ministry, but also his life, can be overwhelming at times and make us as parents feel like we could be doing more to disciple our children. In the fast-paced life that we live, we're usually just happy if everyone makes it out the door with their shoes on the correct feet. Planning and executing a family devotional time can seem out of reach. We're here to help. The Helping Healing Humor podcast has a tool to help you plan, organize, and execute a fulfilling and fun family devotional time for every member of your family, from toddler to teen. As a member of the Ben and Travis Patreon community, you will have access to tons of content at a small price that will help you grow your spiritual life, disciple your family, or even lead a small group Bible study. Patreon membership fees will help our podcast continue to be better and support the cost of creating and publishing the content that our Helping Healing Humor community has enjoyed. Go to www.patreon.com/Ben and Travis to sign up. Hit the link in the show notes for this month's special offer.
So, Ben, who's been a leader in your life? Who's somebody that we've got a ton of them.
Wow.
And we've probably got some of the same ones. But when you say leader, maybe outside the Bible, who do you think of who really kind of, and maybe not out front?
Yeah, so there's there's probably been a lot of people, like you said, we probably shared, Doug Jackson was our youth minister. Wayne Bretherick was one of our first Bible class teachers. I think about some of my teachers at Mars Hill. Ronnie Pinnell was a great encouragement to me. Just kind of a history teacher and a Bible teacher, but maybe the first guy that encouraged me to write notes in my Bible. I think about some of the church people who've encouraged me too, and preacher wise, I'd say Sonny Owens and Lonnie Jones have probably been two of the greatest impact when it comes to my preaching. I've had several mentors in the counseling field, so I mean, it's really hard.
You're afraid to leave somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I already am. I know I've left some people out, but just there's been a lot of people who've encouraged me through the years.
A lot of people we try to get on the podcast, right? You could almost look back through the episodes. And
there's a lot of those guys end up showing up. So what about you?
I'm gonna throw out Matty Gooch. Man, from Jacksonburg. We'll just stay on the Jacksonburg theme.
Real little, started real little.
The servant-minded, not that those other guys aren't servant, but the people who are going to do whatever you need them to do. They're not going to get a lot of pomp and all that stuff. Not that that's what those guys are seeking, but the Rhonda Sweeneys of the world, and like I said, the glue people who set those things up, and VBS does not happen without those people. You want to, more and more the older I get, I think the more I hone the preaching skills and the kind of upfront skills, the more now I'm starting to go, okay, am I servant-hearted like this person?
Right.
Am I carrying the legacy of those people well?
Yeah.
And, carrying on their name, because as Christians, the real name we care about is Christian.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a service type thing. So I'm really more preaching these days on not necessarily the upfront stuff, but the who's even filling the, back when we filled up the communion trays, who's doing all that stuff. And at Riverside, we set chairs out every week. So, even the things like that most people just show up and assume that is done. Somebody's doing it.
Somebody's cleaning your building. Somebody's unlocking the doors. Yeah. Somebody's getting all the stuff ready for worship. And, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't recognize.
Those people who are evangelizing, every chance they get, they're in the Walmart line. They're knocking doors. They're writing letters. They're doing, man, it's just more and more I get older, I'm jealous of those folks and their motivation. Hey, I need to be more like that. Am I being where my feet are? Am I loving my neighbor, literally my neighbor, the people who are around me? And if I love and affect those people, then that makes even bigger than our country, even bigger than our world. Those are eternal things.
If you need a place to read to kind of get motivated and encouraged, it's one of the most random places I think that we don't think about going to read, but Romans chapter 16. It's just a list of people who have impacted Paul's life, because we always go, ooh, Paul, this guy who's, up here on this pedestal, and he goes, hey, let me tell you about the people who kept me involved. Let me tell you about the people who encouraged me. Let me tell you about the people who kept me alive.
Yeah, quite literally fed me.
So, he says, here's the people who stuck their neck out for me. And so, even Paul could look back and go, these people impacted me.
Let's keep it in the family. Myra Arnold, people. I mean, I don't know if anybody visits and writes cards like she does. I mean, awesome. People who are going to our prisons and their jails. And, man, I just over and over again, I look at those, people look at us and, oh, you're up front at CYC, you're doing all these things. I'm like, no, these people have got it going on. And maybe one day, if we keep at it, I'll be like them.
We'll get to be like them when we grow up. So, encourage people around you by mentoring them and encouraging them and helping them. But we encourage you guys also to be great leaders in the community that you are in. Travis,
Absolutely.
Anything that you want to close us out with before we go?
As we always like to encourage, the 3 H's, right? Help, bring some healing, and have a little humor about it. You can do all three.
That's right.
You can do all three, and you can do them well. I don't know that we do, but that's why we have this podcast.
Right. We say we have it because we have a podcast with that name, but we certainly are thankful to be able to help in some little small way, we hope, in your week.
Hope that you all have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.